Cecil or Rue Harris has been Hanover County Administrator since November 2004. He came to Hanover County as Assistant Director of Finance in 1984 and was promoted to Director of Finance in 1987. He was named Assistant County Administrator in 1994 and Deputy County Administrator in 1998 before being appointed Interim County Administrator upon the retirement of Richard Johnson in 2004. Mr. Harris has served in Hanover County government for 36 years and is retiring in June 2020. This morning he's kind enough to give us a few minutes of his time and look back upon his 36 years of service. So Ruth, tell me a little bit how Hanover County has changed since you came to work here in 1984.
Well, in 1984, we had a population of approximately 50,000. So one of the more obvious things that's changed since 1984 is we've doubled in size. We are now approximately 110, 112,000 strong in population. So over that 30 plus years, we've grown substantially in the number of residents we have here in Hanover County. Our business has certainly, business clientele has grown. Back in 1984, we did not have the Times Dispatch printing plant. We did not have Bass Pro. And even the air park has expanded over that time, along with many, many other businesses, those two just being one of our larger businesses in the county.
Do you have any interesting stories from the old days?
Well, one of the tasks that I was given back when I first got here was to try to accumulate a list of what we owned. We did not have an asset list for what Hanover County owned. We had pieces and parts of things. We had some vehicles on our insurance policies. We had certain deeds for pieces of property, but it was far from being comprehensive. So I was asked to create that list of assets to help us for many reasons. One of the reasons to get a clean financial opinion. Without a list of assets, we were not able to get the clean audit opinion that we all wanted back then. So I started by reading the minutes. I read the minutes that we had from the beginning of Hanover County all the way through, at that point, 1985 probably, to accumulate that listing of assets. I also talked with many of our long-term employees. Not every asset was always recorded in the minutes, but there were a lot of things that were in the minutes. As I think you know, Mr. Harris, because you're certainly someone who appreciates history, we do not have the minutes all the way back to the beginning of Hanover County because we lost some in an attempt to take some official records down to Richmond back in the 1800s during the war between the states. So I read what I could find. We accumulated everything we could. It was sufficient to get past the auditors, and we were able to get that first clean opinion for our audit contract, and we have had that ever since. But reading the minutes, you do get a real flavor for Hanover County if you start back in the 1800s and get to read all the way up to the 1980s.
Yeah. Well, what about the county government? What are the biggest changes you've seen during your time?
One of the bigger changes, I think, in Hanover County government as well as otherwise is the use of technology today. Obviously, we're filming a conversation, and that could have been done back in 1984, but would have been done in a completely different fashion back in 1984. When I came here, personal computers were not in the workplace. Nobody can imagine that in today's world with all the power we have on phones and tablets and so forth. Because of our association with the IT department worked with the finance department. Back then we were all one large department, and so we actually bought the first PC of sorts back probably about 1987, 1988. And obviously, you can imagine today we buy more than one PC a year to support the county. As you're filming this, we're now in the middle of the pandemic crisis with COVID, and we're very fortunate that our PC inventory has allowed so many of our employees to work from home, so that we have been able to keep Hanover County open throughout these very trying times of the pandemic. And that would not have been even fathomable back in 1984.
Remarkably, IT tells me that we did not have email until 1997, did not have a website until 1996. Hard to imagine that, a different world.
Very much so. With all the business that we transact, today we're even using, citizens' time and opportunities at public hearings through both of those mechanisms to help our citizens communicate with the Board of Supervisors on very important issues, land use issues, budget issues, and so forth. We need to be able to access their citizens' opinions, and it doesn't always have to be in a face-to-face way.
Education and public safety are so much the focus here in Hanover County. Can you tell me a little bit about how education has changed since 1984 here?
In '84, we had the two high schools of Patrick Henry and Lee Davis, and they had a wonderful football rivalry, as I think many people know, and it continues even today. But as well as many other sports, but I think football certainly gets the most attention there. We have now expanded to 4 high schools. We have Atlee High School and we have Hanover High School. So we've doubled, not only in population, we've doubled in school facilities, and I'm sure we have expanded substantially in that school population. That's the reason we have doubled the number of schools. I don't know those numbers off the top of my head like I do the population numbers. At the time, we had a gentleman by the name of Stephen Baker, Dr. Baker, here, and he was leading Hanover into some new territory with education and the various improvements we were making along those early years. He was followed, as you know, by Dr. Robertson, and he led the school system for many years, and again got us established with the 2 new high schools and the construction of many other elementary schools. It's not all about construction. Yes, we've built a number of buildings in public education, but I think we have improved our quality. We've certainly improved our ranking around the state for complete accreditation of all of our schools, all of our grades, and those gentlemen, along with Dr. Gill and Dr. Jamel Wilson, have all contributed substantially over my time here to get to that status and to maintain the status. As many people know, maintaining the status is always the challenge. It's never easy.
We've also seen a tremendous change in public safety and the way that it's funded, and their success and accomplishments is recognized by many organizations in that profession. Can you tell me a little bit about how public safety's changed?
Sure. Sheriff Bradley was here back again when I came, and was doing a fine job, but the county was changing fast, and the need to address those changes was becoming more evident. He took a early retirement, if you will, from the election cycle, and we had the opportunity to replace him with Stuart Cook. Stuart had been a long-time Hanover resident, but was working down in the city of Richmond, and came to us and really brought a different approach, I think, to Hanover. We then pursued a lot of the accreditations, the professional standards. We also expanded the department from a personnel standpoint tremendously during Sheriff Cook's tenure here. He was very successful in taking our programs and putting them out there for the citizens to be more engaged in, park, walk, and talk type of programs where you get out of your car, you go visit that business, or you get out in the subdivision and talk to the kids if they're playing ball or whatever. Those were some of the programs that he instituted during his time here. His lieutenant colonel then succeeded him, now Sheriff Hines, and has not only taken those programs to new heights, but expanded in many other ways. And we continue to see all the wonderful things that the Sheriff's Office has been able to do with the support. Not only support from personnel, but support from technology. We now have computers in cars. Whoever thought if you didn't have a computer and now you have one, associated with that sheriff's deputy. We also back in '84 were 99% supported in our fire and EMS by volunteers. And over my time here, we've gone from having a handful of paid people. We had Mike Harmon, who was our paid fire chief back in '84, with, as I said, just a few people in his office, to now having all but one of our facilities, our fire EMS facilities, having paid 24-hour, 7 days a week coverage by paid staff. Volunteers are still critical to us today. Hopefully they will always be critical to us. That's part of the fabric of Hanover, is having that opportunity to volunteer, but the demands of the job, the hours of the job, in particular the training associated with being a firefighter or an EMS responder, have changed so much over the years that many of us that participated in that type of business in years past are not able to fulfill those same level of responsibilities today.
Any thoughts about what makes Hanover County unique?
Well, there are a lot of things that make Hanover unique, but I think one of the things that comes to my mind is years ago when we went through the thoughts of strategic plans and many of those things that businesses and local governments go through, we came up with a tagline: people, tradition, and spirit. And while we've changed the strategic plan a number of times and we've focused on different benchmarks and so forth, the tagline has remained consistent, because I think that does truly talk about what Hanover is. The people of Hanover are our greatest asset. The folks that want to come and live here, the businesses that want to come and locate here and serve, that makes up any community, and Hanover is no different there. We have incredible, people who live in Hanover and work in Hanover, and we're just so very fortunate. We respect our traditions again, and I would have to say I think not everybody respects them to the degree that Hanover does. Everything from our community gatherings like the Tomato Festival to our historic courthouse lawn, where we hold many things like Parsons Cause reenactments. Patrick Henry is in the fabric of Hanover County. He may not be here today, but his legacy and what he brought to the county and the Commonwealth is certainly evident, I think, here in Hanover today, and hopefully will stay there in the future. And that takes you to the spirit part of it, I think, as well. The spirit of what we're trying to do, the service to citizens, make sure we're giving people value for their money, make sure we respect what our priorities are of public safety and education and safety nets for folks that are less than fortunate. That's what we have always been about in my 36 years. I think that's what we will be about in the next 36 years to come, and that, I think, is what makes Hanover Hanover.
Rory, thank you so much for the time you've given us this morning, and we wish you a wonderful and long and happy retirement.
Well, it's been a real pleasure to work with you for many of these 36 years, Tom, and thank you so much for all the service you have given to Hanover as well.
Thank you.